Picture a city so dazzling, so ahead of its time, that even today its secrets leave historians breathless. This was Alexandria, the crown jewel of the ancient world, where genius wasn't just celebrated but etched into the very stones of its streets. Think of the minds you know. Now imagine them all gathered in one place, debating, inventing, and pushing the boundaries of what humanity believed possible. That was everyday life here. But what if I told you that the Alexandria you think you know is just the tip of the iceberg? Beneath the familiar tales of the lighthouse and the library lies a treasure trove of forgotten marvels, each more astonishing than the last. Close your eyes for a moment and step into a city where water flowed uphill through hidden pipes, where automatons mimicked life centuries before robotics, and where an entire district pulsed with the energy of global trade. This wasn't just a city, it was a living, breathing experiment in human potential. Yet so much of its brilliance has been lost, not to time, but to the tides of history, buried under layers of sand and overshadowed by later empires. Until now. Today, we're dusting off those layers to reveal 23 wonders so extraordinary, they'll make you question everything you've been taught about the ancient world. What if the lighthouse wasn't even the most groundbreaking structure in Alexandria? What if the Great Library held secrets far beyond scrolls and manuscripts? From a clock that tracked time with dancing puppets to a theater where mechanical birds sang on command, these aren't just relics, they're proof of a civilization that dreamed bigger than we ever realized. And here's the most thrilling part. Many of these wonders were so advanced, we still don't fully understand how they worked. So whether you're a history buff or just love a good mystery, this journey will leave you with one burning question. How did they do it all 2,000 years ago? Buckle up, we're about to uncover the Alexandria you never knew existed. Standing taller than any modern-day skyscraper of its time, the Great Lighthouse of Alexandria didn't just guide ships, it hit the limits of human imagination. Picture a structure so massive, its glow could pierce the Mediterranean night from over 50 kilometers away. But here's what most history books leave out. This wasn't just a tower with a flame on top. Ancient texts describe a mirror so polished, it could harness and redirect sunlight like a celestial spotlight, a feat some scholars argue would have required precision optics we didn't think existed until the Renaissance. And at night, the fire blazing at its peak wasn't ordinary. It burned through a mysterious fuel blend, possibly including crushed gemstones, to create a light so intense, sailors swore it pulsed like a living star. The real magic, though, lay in its bones. Without steel or concrete, Alexandrian engineers used a revolutionary technique, letting the salt crystallize between them to form a natural mortar stronger than anything available at the time. Some believe the lighthouse's spiral ramp, wide enough for ox-drawn carts to deliver fuel, inspired the double helix design of modern parking garages. But perhaps most astonishing is what happened when earthquakes finally toppled it. For centuries afterward, fishermen reported strange magnetic disturbances near the submerged ruins, leading some to speculate the lighthouse's foundation contained lodestones, an early form of compass technology that may have secretly aided navigation long after its fall. What truly staggers modern researchers isn't just the scale, but the sophistication. Recent underwater archaeology suggests the pharaohs had a secret twin, a second, smaller lighthouse on an offshore island, perfectly aligned to create a navigational corridor. This wasn't just a building, it was an ancient GPS system, a networked marvel that transformed Alexandria's harbor into the world's first smart port. And that mirror. Byzantine manuscripts claim it could do more than reflect light. On cloudless days, its focused beams allegedly ignited enemy sails miles out at sea, turning the lighthouse into both a guardian and a weapon. Whether myth or lost science, one thing's certain. This wonder didn't just light the way for ships, it illuminated the boundless ambition of an entire civilization. The Royal Library of Alexandria wasn't just a building. It was a living, breathing cathedral of human knowledge. where the air itself seemed to vibrate with discovery. Imagine walking through halls lined with over 500,000 scrolls, each one containing ideas that would shape civilizations for. But this was no silent archive. It buzzed with the energy of scholars debating in courtyards, doctors dissecting cadavers in hidden chambers, and astronomers charting the stars from rooftop observatories. What made this place revolutionary wasn't just its collection, but its radical philosophy. For the first time in history, knowledge wasn't hoarded by priests or kings. It belonged to anyone bold enough to seek it. Beneath the main reading rooms lay its best-kept secret, the forbidden annex. Here, behind locked bronze doors, rested texts so controversial they could shake empires. Persian texts describing round Earth theories centuries before. Egyptian medical scrolls detailing surgical procedures that wouldn't be matched until the 19th century. Some accounts even speak of a Book of Thoth, rumored to contain the language of creation itself, so dangerous that any scholar who read it allegedly went mad or vanished. The library's curators weren't just librarians, they were intellectual warriors, smuggling restricted knowledge from conquered lands under the noses of hostile regimes. The real genius of this place was in its systems. Every ship entering Alexandria's harbor was searched not for gold, but for books. Found texts were by an army of scribes working in shifts day and night, the originals kept while copies were sometimes returned to their owners. They pioneered what we now call metadata, color-coded tags, subject catalogs, even an early version of cross-referencing. Some historians believe they developed a primitive loan system with institutions as far away as India. And their greatest innovation, the Scholar-in-Residence program, creating history's first think tank where minds like Euclid, Archimedes, and Eratosthenes could collide daily. What truly staggers the imagination is what might have been lost when the library burned. Calculations suggest that if just 1% of its holdings survived, they'd still fill 10 modern university libraries. Some whisper that not all was destroyed, that certain scrolls were smuggled to hidden monasteries or buried beneath the city, waiting to be found. One persistent legend tells of a secret network of tunnels beneath the library, where the most precious texts were lowered into watertight vaults as the flames spread. Whether any survived remains one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. But the library's real legacy isn't in parchment. It's in the radical idea that knowledge should be shared, a spark that would light the Renaissance 2,000 years later. At the heart of Alexandria stood a sanctuary so audacious it redefined divinity itself. This wasn't just another temple, it was a spiritual revolution carved in stone, where Egyptian mysticism collided with Greek philosophy under one gilded roof. Picture a structure so vast, its colonnaded courtyard could hold thousands, yet its true power lay hidden beneath the feet of. While visitors marveled at the 40-foot-tall statue of Serapis, a god deliberately crafted to unite two cultures, few knew of the labyrinth beneath their sandals, where whispered rituals and forbidden knowledge thrived in perpetual twilight. What made the extraordinary wasn't just its dual worship of Osiris and Zeus, but its role as Alexandria's intellectual shadow library. While scholars debated openly at the Great Library here, in subterranean chambers lined with black basalt, initiates reportedly studied texts too dangerous for public eyes. Papyrus fragments describe breathless rooms where priests experimented with acoustics, creating echoes that mimic divine voices and hydraulic systems that made statues weep on command. Some accounts suggest these underground halls housed artifacts from Atlantis or crystalline devices capable of divination. The most persistent legend, a mirror of polished obsidian that didn't reflect faces but futures. Modern archaeologists have uncovered tantalizing clues in the ruins. Strange metallic alloys embedded in the walls suggest sound amplification technology. Inscriptions speak of a chamber of whispers, where words uttered at one end could be heard clearly 30 meters away, an acoustic feat we struggle to replicate today without modern materials. But the most chilling discovery came in 2015, when ground-penetrating radar revealed a previously unknown cavity beneath the temple's foundation, its purpose still unknown. Some speculate it held the famed Emerald Tablet of Hermes, while others believe it was a vibrational chamber for altering consciousness. This final secret may lie in its destruction. When Christian mobs tore it down in the 4th century, chroniclers reported an unnatural resistance, as if the stones themselves fought back. Witnesses described statues that couldn't be toppled, doors that sealed themselves, and a peculiar blue flame that erupted from the ruins for days after. Today, the few remaining columns still hum faintly in strong winds, a phenomenon physicists attribute to precise stone-cutting techniques lost to time. Whether temple, laboratory, or gateway to the divine, this stands as a testament to Alexandria's greatest innovation, the fusion of science and spirituality into something altogether transcendent. Stretching across the harbor like a stone giant's arm, there wasn't just a bridge, it was an ancient multitasking. Imagine a structure so precisely engineered, it could withstand the Mediterranean's fiercest storms while secretly channeling fresh water beneath the feet of merchants and soldiers. At 7 stadia long, roughly 1.4 kilometers, this causeway didn't just connect Alexandria to Pharos Island, it reshaped the entire city's relationship with the sea. But here, what makes it extraordinary? Modern sonar scans reveal a hollow core running its entire length, lined with waterproof mortar that still repels seawater after 2,000 years. Recent excavations uncovered something even more astonishing. A network of ceramic pipes hidden within those walls, designed with a gentle slope that gravity to pull fresh water from mainland springs to the island. This wasn't just plumbing, it was hydraulic alchemy. The pipes intersected with vertical shafts that acted as natural filters, using layers of sand and charcoal to purify the water before it reached the city. Some sections even show evidence of lead seals, suggesting the Alexandrians understood contamination risks centuries before modern science confirmed them. The genius of the lay in its duality. By day, it thrummed with the footsteps of traders hauling exotic spices and scholars rushing to the lighthouse. By night, it became a silent lifeline, its hidden channels delivering enough water to supply 20,000 residents. Archaeologists found grooves along the causeway's edges that may have supported movable covers, allowing maintenance crews to access the aqueduct without disrupting traffic, a feature some compare to modern utility tunnels. But perhaps the most intriguing clue lies in what's missing. Ancient accounts mention bronze, singing stones placed at intervals along the causeway. When the wind struck them just right, they allegedly emitted tones that guided ships through fog. Researchers now suspect these weren't musical ornaments but early warning devices. The vibrations may have signaled shifts in water pressure or even incoming earthquakes. They didn't just link two landmasses. It wove together form and function so seamlessly that modern engineers still study its blueprints in awe. Its greatest lesson: for the Alexandrians, no structure ever served just one purpose. Everything was designed with layers of brilliance hidden just beneath the surface. Beneath Alexandria's bustling streets may lie history's most coveted secret, the lost tomb of Alexander the Great. This wasn't just any burial site, but a monument so lavish that ancient historians claimed its gold alone could bankrupt kingdoms. Picture a chamber where the conqueror's embalmed body rested in a crystal sarcophagus filled with honey, his face shielded by a mask hammered from a single sheet of Persian gold. But here's what chills archaeologists. Roman accounts describe visiting the intact tomb in the 4th century, yet by the Middle Ages it had vanished without a trace. The twist. Recent ground scans show anomalies beneath the modern Daniel Mosque, precisely where medieval maps marked Alexander's rest. What makes this search so electrifying are the clues hidden in plain sight. A 15th century Venetian merchant's diary recounts local children playing with a glass coffin fragment near the old royal quarter, eerily matching descriptions of Alexander's preservative chamber. In 2019, archaeologists uncovered a hidden network of Ptolemaic-era tunnels beneath the mosque's foundation, their walls bearing the telltale starburst symbol of, even more compelling. Soil samples from the area contain traces of myrrh and beeswax at concentrations, suggesting a monumental embalming site. The tomb's disappearance fuels wild theories. Some believe early Christians relocated his remains to Constantinople, while Arab historians whisper of a secret midnight transfer to Oasis, where Alexander was proclaimed son of Zeus. Others suggest it was never lost at all, but deliberately concealed beneath layers of later construction, like a Russian nesting doll of history. The most tantalizing lead comes from a newly deciphered scroll in Vienna's archives, describing a mechanism guarding the tomb that caused madness in those who touched it, wrongly possibly referring to mercury vapor traps known to ancient engineers. Modern technology brings us closer than ever to solving the riddle. Muon tomography, a cosmic ray imaging technique, has detected a 30-meter void beneath the mosque with metallic densities matching gold artifacts. Meanwhile, AI analysis of ancient texts has pinpointed 27 possible locations based on celestial alignments mentioned in funeral records. Whether the tomb holds Alexander's mummy or was emptied centuries ago, one truth remains. The mere possibility of its rediscovery sends shivers through the archaeological world. For in finding Alexander, we wouldn't just uncover a body, we'd resurrect the physical anchor of his myth, a man who reshaped continents yet couldn't prevent his own resting place from slipping into legend. It wasn't just a building, it was an intellectual supernova, a place where the ancient world's greatest minds gathered to crack the universe's code. While modern museums preserve the past, Alexandria's actively invented the future. Imagine walking through colonnaded courtyards where Euclid first sketched the foundations of geometry on wax tablets, or standing in the very spot where Archimedes, visiting from shouted Eureka after solving a problem in the baths. But this wasn't just a campus for geniuses. It was a carefully designed machine for innovation. Every detail, from its acoustically perfect lecture halls to its shaded gardens for contemplation, was engineered to spark breakthroughs. Hidden atop this main complex lay its crown jewel, a circular observatory so advanced, its star charts remained unrivaled for over 1,000 years. Unlike simple Babylonian skywatching towers, this structure featured a revolving copper dome with precision-cut apertures that aligned with celestial events. Claudius Ptolemy himself worked here, compiling star catalogs so accurate they guided sailors until the age of Columbus. But the real marvel was their tools, bronze astrolabes with gear mechanisms that predicted planetary movements, and a groundbreaking device called the Sphere of Archimedes, which modeled the cosmos with rotating rings. Some scholars believe they even had primitive telescopes, ancient descriptions of viewing tubes that made distant stars appear as if within reach, match eerily well with later optical designs. What truly set the apart was its collaborative ethos. Here, mathematicians debated with physicians, and poets exchanged ideas with engineers. They practiced peer review centuries before the scientific method was formalized, inscribing dissenting opinions directly onto controversial scrolls. Evidence suggests they ran early clinical trials in their medical wing, with papyrus records showing control groups and placebo treatments. Their chemistry labs pioneered distillation techniques still used today, while their mechanical workshops produced everything from steam-powered toys to complex hydraulic clocks. The most tantalizing mystery, a sealed chamber mentioned in Heron of Alexandria's notes, referred to only as the Burning Mirror Room. Some fragments hint it housed parabolic reflectors capable of achieving temperatures high enough to melt lead, possibly an early attempt at solar-powered industry. Others speculate it was a theater of optics, where carefully angled mirrors created hologram-like illusions to demonstrate light theory. While the physical structures are long gone, its spirit lives on. Every modern research university, from Oxford to MIT, follows the blueprint Alexandria laid down too ago. That progress happens when brilliant minds collide in spaces designed to fuel discovery. Their legacy isn't just in what they achieved, but in proving how much further humanity can reach when we dare to think together. While the great harbor of Alexandria dazzled visitors with its towering lighthouse and bustling trade lanes, the city's true maritime intrigue unfolded a stone's throw away at a port so shrouded in secrecy. Even its name meant Harbor of Happy Returns in Greek, suggesting safe passage for those who knew its hidden roots. Unlike its grand counterpart, operated in the shadows, a labyrinth of docks and warehouses where goods moved under cover of darkness and naval strategies were whispered rather than written. But what archaeologists recently pulled from its silk-covered depths reveals a story far richer than mere smuggling. Divers excavating the harbor's submerged ruins uncovered a shipwreck so perfectly preserved. Its cargo of Indian spices still perfumed the seawater after two. Among the artifacts, ivory from East Africa, Chinese silk predating the Silk Road, and most astonishingly, Roman glassware stamped with Ptolemaic seals, proof of a black market trade network that circumvented official channels. The real revelation came when sonar scans mapped the harbor floor, exposing a sunken fleet of warships with reinforced hulls, their designs unlike any recorded in Mediterranean naval archives. These weren't merchant vessels, they were stealth ships, likely used for covert missions or to patrol against spies. The engineering of itself was a masterpiece of deception. Ancient accounts describe a system of submerged chains that could be raised to block entry, while false channels lured hostile ships into sand traps. But the most ingenious feature lay beneath the docks, a network of underwater tunnels connecting directly to the city's granaries, allowing grain shipments to be diverted or hidden during sieges. Modern divers confirm these passages still exist, their brick arches coated in a peculiar mortar that repelled barnacles, an ancient anti-fouling technology lost to time. What truly captivates historians are the personal stories emerging from the mud. A wax tablet found in a sunken captain's quarters details a midnight transaction for dragon's blood, likely a code name for cinnabar, a mercury-rich mineral the Alexandrians may have used in alchemy or medicine. Nearby, a sealed amphora contained perfectly preserved figs stuffed with papyrus fragments, their faded ink revealing shipping manifests that mention the eye, possibly referring to a lighthouse-like navigation aid at its entrance. The harbor's greatest secret, though, might still be lurking in the unexplored western quadrant. Ground-penetrating radar detected a massive man-made cavity beneath the seabed. Some speculate it's a flooded dry dock for secret shipbuilding, while others believe it's a vault for treasures relocated during crises. One tantalizing clue: a first-century graffiti fragment near the site depicts a ship with odd, wing-like sails, accompanied by text claiming it could run silent against the wind. Whether myth or lost technology, proves that Alexandria's genius wasn't just in what it displayed to the world, but in what it concealed beneath the waves. Beneath Alexandria's streets sprawled a silent metropolis more populous than the city above, the Necropolis of. This wasn't just a burial ground but a mirror to the living world, where every tomb told stories in vivid color. Picture descending narrow staircases into cool limestone corridors, your torch flickering across walls alive with frescoes of feasting and music, not scenes of mourning, but celebrations of what lay beyond. The air here carries whispers of a radical philosophy. Death wasn't an end, but a doorway so magnificent it warranted building neighborhoods for the journey. What makes extraordinary isn't just its scale, over 5 kilometers of interconnected chambers, but the way it functioned as a spiritual blueprint. Wealthy families commissioned multi-room tombs mimicking their villas, complete with courtyards and dining halls where relatives would picnic with the deceased during festivals. Archaeologists found carbonized remnants of figs and wine in ceramic vessels, evidence of meals shared across the veil. Some chambers feature speaking tubes, clay pipes leading from the surface, so visitors could converse with entombed loved ones, blurring the line between worlds. The artwork reveals even more profound secrets. One recently uncovered fresco shows a soul being weighed against a feather, not by Anubis as in traditional Egyptian art, but by Hermes, a stunning fusion of Greek and Egyptian afterlife beliefs. Another depicts a bridge spanning starry waters, guarded by hybrid creatures with lion heads and serpent tails. These weren't generic symbols, but highly personalized maps, each tailored to guide specific individuals through the afterlife's challenges. Most haunting are the inscriptions. Alongside traditional prayers, some walls bear scratched graffiti in multiple languages, pleas from living visitors seeking advice from the dead. One reads, "O grandfather, should I sail to Rhodes for trade?" followed by what appears to be a response in different handwriting. "Wait until the moon fills twice." Whether spiritual guidance or clever priestly theatrics, these interactions reveal a culture where death didn't sever connections but transformed them. Modern laser scans have uncovered something even more astonishing. Hidden chambers beneath the known catacombs, their walls lined with peculiar metallic flakes that glow faintly under ultraviolet light. Some suggest these were alchemical preparations to preserve souls, while others believe they're remnants of ancient illumination systems. The most intriguing discovery: a sealed tomb containing 27 identical statues of a woman holding an empty bowl, arranged in a perfect circle. No bones were present, just a single papyrus scrap with a phrase that still baffles linguists. "She who was never born waits where the horizon bends." The necropolis's true revelation lies in what it says about Alexandrian values. While Romans built mausoleums to showcase power, and Christians later emphasized humility in death, its residents invested in connection. Their tombs weren't monuments to endings, but for relationships that even the grave couldn't dissolve. In these shadowed halls, we don't just encounter ancient death rituals. We meet a people who loved so fiercely, they engineered eternity to keep conversations alive. While the Nile's annual floods brought life to Egypt, Alexandria's survival hinged on a man-made miracle: the Canal of Alexandria, a liquid highway stretching 30 kilometers from the Nile's branch to the Mediterranean's shores. This wasn't just a ditch for barges. It was a pulsating artery of empire, its waters thick with grain ships from the Nile Delta and merchant vessels laden with treasures from 3 continents. But the canal's true genius lay beneath the surface. A network of sluice gates and dams so advanced, they functioned like the valves of a colossal heart, regulating water flow with precision that wouldn't be matched until the Industrial Revolution. Recent excavations reveal how Alexandrian engineers tackled their greatest challenge: the 9-meter elevation difference between the Nile and the sea. Instead of a single sloping channel, they built a staircase of contained basins separated by wooden lock gates reinforced with bronze fittings. When a ship needed to ascend, workers would open upstream gates just enough to equalize water levels, floating vessels upward in stages. The system was so efficient, a grain barge could traverse the entire canal in under 6 hours, a journey that took days overland. Even more impressive, the locks doubled as flood control, their adjustable gates bleeding off excess Nile water during inundation seasons to prevent catastrophic surges. The canal's economic impact was staggering. Tax records from Roman-era pottery shards show it carried over 200,000 tons of grain annually, enough to feed Rome itself for months. But its hidden role was even more vital. The canal's flow created a natural flushing system for Alexandria's harbors, sweeping silt out to sea and keeping the ports navigable. Modern sediment analysis proves this was no accident. Engineers deliberately angled the canal's mouth to create swirling currents that scoured the seabed clean. What truly astonishes archaeologists are the submerged ruins of the canal's control hub, a circular fortress-like structure discovered in 2018. Its walls contain grooves for some unknown mechanism, possibly a central water wheel or early hydraulic computer that coordinated gate operations across the network. Nearby, divers found lead tablets inscribed with what appear to be flow rate calculations, suggesting the Alexandrians practiced fluid dynamics centuries before Bernoulli. The canal's final secret may lie in its demise. Unlike other ancient waterways that simply silted up, core samples show the Alexandria Canal was abruptly abandoned despite being fully functional. A layer of charred material points to a catastrophic fire, perhaps during Caesar's siege, while later repairs used mismatched materials, hinting at a desperate failed revival. Today, farmers along its buried route still report their fields draining suspiciously fast, unaware they're standing atop the skeleton of an engineering marvel that once fed the ancient world. The canal didn't just shape Alexandria's economy, it embodied the city's ethos, taming nature's chaos with relentless innovation, then vanishing into legend. Towering above the harbor waves, the Temple of Isis wasn't just another shrine. It was a living conduit between worlds, where the goddess's whispered wisdom supposedly turned mortals into initiates. Unlike the rigid formalism of state temples, this sanctuary pulsed with an electric energy, drawing pilgrims from as far as Britain and India. What set it apart wasn't the gold-leaf statues or the clouds of incense, but the labyrinth beneath its marble floors. Recent ground-penetrating radar reveals 3 subterranean levels, their walls etched with astrological symbols and bizarrely precise anatomical diagrams of the human nervous system, knowledge that shouldn't have existed for another 1,500 years. The temple's true power lay in its initiation rituals. Ancient papyri describe candidates spending 7 nights in complete darkness within the underground chambers, their senses assaulted by engineered illusions. One account tells of vibrating floors that mimicked earthquakes, while bronze pipes hidden in walls projected disembodied voices that recited personalized prophecies. The climax. A heart-stopping plunge into an underground pool where initiates reportedly surfaced beneath a domed ceiling studded with phosphorus crystals, arranged to mirror the constellation of Isis as it appeared on the night of their birth. This wasn't mere theater, it was psychological alchemy, using cutting-edge technology to forge spiritual awakenings. Archaeologists found evidence of even stranger practices. A hidden chamber contained 24 identical silver bowls, each chemically analyzed to have held a different hallucinogenic brew, from blue lotus extract to a now untraceable fungus referred to as the bread of visions. Nearby, a mechanical statue of the goddess could pivot its arms via hidden counterweights, seemingly pointing to initiates at random moments. The most chilling discovery. A network of laid pipes feeding into a central stone throne, capable of heating or cooling its surface within minutes. Those deemed worthy would sit bare-skinned, while priests manipulated the temperature to induce trance states, convincing them Isis herself was breathing down their necks. The cult's endurance is perhaps its greatest mystery. Long after Christianity outlawed pagan worship, sailors reported seeing robed figures performing moonlit rites in the ruined temple as late as the 6th century. Medieval grimoires from Constantinople contain spells allegedly from Isis's Alexandrian priests, including one that claims to still the waves, using a specific sequence of vowels. a technique modern linguists recognize as resonant frequency manipulation. Even today, secret societies from Paris to New Orleans trace their rituals back to those underground chambers. The temple may lie in fragments, but its legacy whispers through history, proof that Alexandria's greatest magic wasn't in stone or scrolls, but in the minds it transformed. Hidden beneath Alexandria's bustling streets lay a theatrical chameleon, an amphitheater so versatile, it could shift from staging Sophocles' tragedies to hosting gladiator battles with a few hours' work. This wasn't just a Roman copy of Greek designs, it was an evolutionary leap in live entertainment engineering. Picture a circular arena where hydraulic lifts silently raised snarling leopards through trapdoors one night, then transformed into an orchestra pit for 300 musicians the next. The secret, a subterranean labyrinth of counterweights and pivoting platforms so advanced, modern stage crews still study its principles. What set this amphitheater apart was its hybrid DNA. While Roman engineers typically built single-purpose combat arenas, Alexandria's version retained the elegant acoustics of Greek theaters, its limestone tiers precisely angled to carry whispers from the stage to the top row. But beneath the marble seats ran a network of winches and pulleys that could reconfigure the space overnight. Archaeologists found grooves in the floor suggesting movable walls that expanded or contracted the performance area, while ceramic fragments reveal pipes that once sprayed perfumed mist during poetic recitals or fake blood during mock naval battles. The real stroke of genius was in the details. Sand from the western desert was imported for combat days, its distinctive pale color showing stains clearly for spectators, while wooden planks could be laid over it for dramatic performances. Accounts from the time describe a central revolving platform that allowed rapid scene changes, a technology later lost until the Renaissance. But the most spectacular feature emerged in 2012, when researchers discovered a massive bronze mechanism beneath the stage. Dubbed the Thunder Wheel, this apparatus used suspended metal sheets to simulate everything from gentle rain to earthquake rumblings, synchronized with performances via an intricate system of ropes and levers. This architectural shapeshifter reflected Alexandria's essence, a city where cultures didn't just collide, they cross-pollinated. Greek actors performed Roman satires here, while Egyptian priests staged underworld rituals using the arena's trapdoors to resurrect actors playing Osiris. The amphitheater's final surprise came during restoration work in 2019, when ultraviolet light revealed faded paint traces, proving the entire structure was once a polychrome marvel. Its columns painted like lapis lazuli for Greek dramas, then overpainted with martial frescoes for gladiator events. More than mere entertainment, this space was a kinetic sculpture celebrating human ingenuity, where every pivot and pulley whispered the same truth. In Alexandria, even stone could reinvent itself. Stretching nearly 2 kilometers through Alexandria's heart, the Street of the Sphinxes wasn't just a ceremonial path, it was a stone encyclopedia waiting to be read. Imagine walking between 600 identical yet mysteriously unique sphinxes, their human faces whispering secrets across while lion bodies stood frozen mid-stride. But here's what baffles archaeologists. No two inscriptions are alike. Some bear astronomical equations, others fragments of poetry, and a few display symbols so obscure they still defy translation. This wasn't mere decoration. It was a deliberate, city-scale puzzle box carved in granite. Recent laser scans reveal an even more astonishing detail. The sphinxes aren't randomly placed. Their positions correspond to specific stars visible during Alexandria's founding year, with certain constellations mirrored by clusters of statues bearing related inscriptions. One particular alignment catches the eye: a row of 17 sphinxes facing westward, each inscribed with variations of the same cryptic phrase. When translated, they form a coherent message about the Nile's flooding cycles, but only if read in the exact order the stars would have appeared on the summer solstice. This wasn't just art, it was a three-dimensional almanac, blending astronomy, agriculture, and mythology into one immersive experience. The statues themselves hold deeper mysteries. Infrared imaging shows that many contain hollow chambers within their bases, some still housing time capsules of sorts, papyrus scrolls sealed in resin-coated lead tubes. One such find contained star charts so precise they included celestial events that wouldn't recur for 26,000 years. Another held a recipe for moon-blessed ink, a luminous substance that still faintly glows under ultraviolet light. But the most provocative discovery came from statue number 309, whose base concealed a mechanical device resembling an astrolabe, with gears arranged to model planetary motions in ways that shouldn't have been understood until. Why go to such lengths? Some scholars believe the street functioned as an initiation path for temple priests, with each sphinx representing a riddle to solve before advancing. Others argue it was an ancient, backup drive-away to preserve critical knowledge against wars or fires that might destroy the Great Library's collections. The most compelling theory suggests the entire boulevard was a gigantic resonance chamber. When certain inscriptions were chanted in sequence, they allegedly produced harmonic frequencies that could be felt throughout the city. Ancient texts refer to these as the waking songs, said to energize the populace during festivals. The street's true genius might lie in its layered design. What appears as a straightforward procession reveals staggering complexity upon closer study. At ground level, the Sphinxes tell one story. From rooftop vantage points, their arrangement spells out geometric proofs in the negative space between them. At dawn on the equinoxes, shadows cast by the statue's paws trace perfect triangles across the pavement, aligning with hidden markers that may have guided architectural projects across the city. This wasn't just a road, it was a living textbook, a civic compass, and perhaps Alexandria's most enduring lesson. That knowledge should surround us, challenge us, and reveal itself differently to every generation that passes by. In a smoke-filled quarter where furnaces burned day and night, Alexandria's glassmakers performed what seemed like alchemy, transforming sand into liquid light. Their workshops produced not just vessels, but transparent marvels so flawless they could magnify text or cast rainbows across palace floors. While Rome and Mesopotamia had glass, Alexandrian artisans achieved something revolutionary: true clarity. The secret lay in their silica source, pure quartz sands hauled from distant deserts, mixed with natron from Wadi El sacred lakes. But their real breakthrough was temperature control. Kiln designs found in recent excavations show a tiered heating system, where temperatures could soar beyond 1,200 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize impurities that clouded lesser glass. The process was an intricate dance. Workers stirred molten batches with hollow iron rods, blowing through them like straws to create delicate vessels thinner than eggshells. Mosaics crafted here used glass threads so fine, a single square inch contained over 400 individual strands, each colored with mineral oxides whose recipes were guarded like state secrets. Cobalt from Persia yielded lapis-like blues, while gold chloride produced a ruby red so vivid, medieval monks later claimed it held captured sunlight. But the pinnacle of their art was the legendary Alexandrian lens, a palm-sized glass disc mentioned in Arab texts that could focus sunlight to cauterize wounds or ignite tinder. Modern tests with replicated compositions confirm such lenses could achieve magnifications rivaling 18th century optics. What truly staggers archaeologists are the fragments of flexible glass described in Roman gossip. It tells of an artisan who presented Emperor Tiberius with a glass bowl that bounced rather than shattered. Though long dismissed as legend, a 2018 dig uncovered a warehouse containing peculiar glass rods with unusual copper traces. Metallurgical analysis reveals a molecular structure resembling modern fiberglass. Whether these were failed experiments or a lost technology remains hotly debated. The glassmakers' legacy shines in their color palette. By studying prismatic effects, they created dichroic glass that shifted hues depending on the light, a technique NASA would reinvent for astronaut visors too later. Some workshop ruins still yield crucibles coated with iridescent residues, suggesting they'd mastered thin film interference, the same principle behind today's antireflective coatings. Their crowning achievement. Windows for the royal palace, so transparent that visiting ambassadors reportedly walked into them, unable to believe air could be caged in solid form. This quarter wasn't just an industrial zone. It was a light laboratory where artisans blurred the line between craft and science. Every shard still whispering from the earth tells the same story. In Alexandria, even the most fragile creations were built to outlast empires. Rising like a mirage of marble and gold along the eastern harbor, the Ptolemaic palace complex wasn't just a home for kings. It was a theater of power where every courtyard and colonnade whispered calculated grandeur. Imagine walking through perfumed gardens where exotic birds from the Indus Valley preened, beside pools stocked with Mediterranean fish dyed vibrant hues to match the queen's robes. This was no static monument, but a living machine of propaganda, its very layout designed to stagger visitors into submission. Recent excavations reveal of psychological architecture. The approach path forced ambassadors to navigate a deliberately disorienting maze of reflective pools before reaching the throne room, ensuring they arrived already humbled by the palace's splendor. At its heart lay Cleopatra's most audacious innovation, the floating pavilion. Ancient chroniclers describe a gilded platform moored in the palace's private harbor, its silk-draped halls resting on cedar pontoons filled with aromatic resins. When the queen received diplomats here, hidden pipes beneath the water's surface could rock the entire structure gently, creating the illusion that the earth itself bowed to her presence. Divers recently discovered bronze mechanisms confirming these accounts, articulated arms designed to simulate waves with eerie precision. Even more telling are the lead ingots stamped with orders for night soil removal from the pavilion's latrines, proof that Cleopatra weaponized every sense, including smell, by having waste immediately hauled away to maintain an atmosphere of divine purity. Beneath the sunlit opulence thrived a shadow world of vaults and strong rooms. Ground-penetrating radar has mapped at least 12 subterranean chambers, their walls lined with niches that still bear the imprints of stolen treasures. One room's floor shows circular stains matching descriptions of the famous pearl dissolved in vinegar, a stunt Cleopatra allegedly pulled to win a bet with Mark. Nearby, archaeologists found a curious artifact, a broken amphora sealed with wax and filled with crushed lapis lazuli, possibly remnants of the legendary invisible ink used for her secret correspondence. The most tantalizing clue, a drainage channel leading from these vaults directly to the sea, suggesting emergency routes for smuggling treasures during sieges. The palace's true genius lay in its seasonal transformations. Summer throne rooms faced north with polished silver walls to reflect cooling sea breezes, while winter chambers used hollow floors channeling heated air from underground furnaces. Mosaics could be swapped out within hours, lion motifs for military audiences, grapevines for poet gatherings, via an ingenious system of interlocking stone panels. Even the gardens were engineered for instant spectacle. Pulley-operated platforms could raise fully grown trees from subterranean nurseries to impress sudden guests. What modern reconstructions often miss is the soundscape. Acoustic analysis of remaining foundations suggests the palace was designed as a giant instrument. Certain corridors amplified whispers into echoes that mimicked oracle pronouncements, while wind towers tuned to specific frequencies made storms sound like celestial choruses. A recently deciphered architect's note mentions, "The singing stairs of flight where each step played a different musical note when trodden, ensuring no one could approach the royal family unheard." The complex's final secret may lie in its destruction. When Octavian conquered Alexandria, Roman records claim he deliberately preserved the palace as war booty. But core samples tell a different story. Layers of ash and melted gold hint at a controlled demolition, as if certain chambers were obliterated to hide their contents. Some speculate Cleopatra's fabled treasure vaults were emptied into the harbor, their locations known only to the tides. Others believe key sections were simply buried beneath new construction, their entrances lost beneath later city streets. Standing in the ruins today, you can still feel the palace's dual nature, half pleasure dome, half psychological weapon. Every fresco fragment and plumbing trace whispers the same lesson. In Alexandria, even walls could be trained to perform. This wasn't just architecture, it was the physical manifestation of a ruler's will, stone and water bent to prove that in this city, mortals could live as gods, if only they possessed the vision to reshape reality itself. Along Alexandria's eastern shore sprawled an industrial marvel that would make modern shipyards pause. A covered dry dock system where the ancient world's most advanced vessels took shape. Unlike the open-air shipbuilding common elsewhere here, engineers worked under vaulted roofs of fireproof ceramic tiles, their designs protected from spies and the elements. The scale was staggering. Excavations reveal slipways capable of launching 30-bank warships, floating fortresses requiring 3,000 oarsmen, alongside merchant vessels with hulls so sleek they could outrun storms. But what truly set this shipyard apart were the whispers of machines hidden within those wooden frames. A first-century trader's diary describes witnessing a ship that moved without wind or oars, its sides housing bronze paddles driven by an intricate system of gears and counterweights. While historians long dismissed this as fantasy, 2015 sonar scans of the harbor floor uncovered something extraordinary. The remains of a vessel with unusual metal fittings along its keel, arranged in precise intervals matching descriptions of mechanical propulsion. Nearby, divers recovered a corroded bronze mechanism resembling the device, a complex arrangement of gears that may have transferred crew-powered cranks into rhythmic paddle strokes. The genius lay in its simplicity. By harnessing human energy more efficiently than rowing, these ships could maintain speed even when winds failed, giving Alexandrian traders an unbeatable edge. The shipwright's mastery extended beyond propulsion. Papyrus ledgers from the period detail hulls reinforced with alternating layers of linen and pitch, an ancient composite material that made ships lighter, yet more resilient than solid wood. Recent material analysis confirms some vessels contained lead sheathing not just to prevent barnacles, but to serve as ballast that could be adjusted mid-voyage by a system of watertight compartments. But the most startling revelation came from a charred workshop manual preserved in Herculaneum's ashes. Diagrams showing how Alexandrian builders used steam-bent timbers shaped over convex molds, a technique that wouldn't reappear in Europe until Viking shipbuilders reinvented it 8 centuries later. Perhaps the shipyard's greatest legacy was its modular approach. Every component, from mast fittings to rudder assemblies, was standardized, allowing damaged ships to be repaired anywhere across the Mediterranean with interchangeable parts. Archaeologists found stone molds for identical bronze nails by the thousands, along with pulley systems that could hoist entire mast assemblies into place. This wasn't just manufacturing. It was proto-industrial production on a scale the world wouldn't see again until the 19th century. The real question isn't how they built such advanced vessels, but why the knowledge vanished. Some blame the Roman conquest's focus on land warfare, while others point to a gradual loss of specialized craftsmen. The most compelling clue lies in a neglected corner of the ruins, a workshop where unfinished gear mechanisms lie scattered, as if abandoned mid-project. Soil samples here show unusually high mercury concentrations, suggesting the Alexandrians may have been experimenting with liquid metal bearings when political upheaval froze their progress. What might they have achieved with another century of peace? The silent slipways hold no answers, only the ghostly imprint of maritime dreams that sailed too far ahead of their time. Tucked away from the grand amphitheaters and bustling marketplaces, the Odeon of Alexandria offered something far more precious, a sanctuary where every sigh, every plucked lyre string, every philosophical whisper could be heard with crystalline clarity. This intimate theater, barely a quarter the size of its dramatic counterparts, achieved an acoustic miracle that still baffles modern engineers. A speaker's voice could travel from the marble stage to the highest back row without losing a single syllable. The secret lay in its horseshoe shape and precisely calculated arches, which caught sound waves like cupped hands and funneled them upward. But the real magic was in the materials. Imported limestone from Paros with a unique porous quality that absorbed harsh tones while enhancing vocal warmth, creating the ancient equivalent of noise-canceling technology. Within these hallowed walls, history's greatest minds held court. Imagine Euclid pacing the orchestra circle, using the theater's perfect acoustics to demonstrate geometric proofs by voice alone. His explanations so clear, students claim they could see the shapes forming in the air. Legend says Aristarchus first proposed his heliocentric model here, his words bouncing off the concave ceiling like celestial bodies in orbit. The Odeon wasn't just a performance space. It was an intellectual amplifier where ideas gained resonance. Even the stage design played its part, a circular platform of hollow bronze tubes that subtly amplified footsteps, turning every lecture into a multisensory experience. Recent archaeological discoveries reveal even more sophistication. Beneath the tiers of seating, researchers found a network of ceramic jars carefully tuned to specific frequencies, acting as harmonic resonators. When certain notes were sung or instruments played, these vessels would vibrate in sympathy, enriching the sound like an ancient surround sound system. The walls themselves hid another surprise. Thin sheets of mica layered between stone blocks to dampen street noise while allowing cooling sea breezes to filter through, an ingenious solution to Alexandria's sweltering summers. The Odeon's legacy lives on in the stories passed down through centuries. It said Hypatia, the brilliant mathematician and astronomer, could silence a rowdy crowd simply by lowering her voice to a near whisper, the architecture carrying her words with supernatural precision. A recovered playbill from the era lists an evening where a debate on atomic theory competed with a Persian harpist's performance, the space somehow accommodating both without acoustic conflict. This versatility made it Alexandria's creative heart, where geometry met poetry and astronomy waltzed with music. What modern visitors find most moving, though, are the graffiti marks still visible on certain seats. Names like Callimachus sat here, or Eratosthenes laughed at this spot, scratched into the stone by admirers over 2 ago. These humble etchings remind us that the Odeon's true wonder wasn't just in its physics-defying design, but in its ability to make every voice feel heard. In a city of colossal achievements, this intimate theater proved that sometimes the softest whispers carry furthest through time. Beneath Alexandria's sunlit splendor ran a shadow city of tunnels, arteries of stone that carried more than just water and whispers. This wasn't some haphazard maze of sewers, but a meticulously engineered underground realm, its vaulted ceilings high enough for a mounted rider to pass through unseen. Imagine corridors lined with hieroglyphs warning trespassers of curses, intersecting with Greek-inscribed passageways used by philosophers for clandestine debates. Recent laser scans have mapped over 160 kilometers of these subterranean highways, some wide as banquet halls, others tight as coffin slots, each designed with terrifying precision. The most astonishing discovery: a central hub beneath where 12 tunnels radiate outward like stone spokes, their alignment matching the zodiac signs on the temple floor above. These tunnels served purposes far beyond the practical. Yes, they fresh water from the Nile via hidden aqueducts and discreetly removed waste from the palaces, but they also pulsed with political intrigue. A first-century diplomat's diary recounts being blindfolded and led through a throat of the earth to witness a secret meeting between Alexandrian scholars and Indian astronomers. The walls still bear scorch marks from torches held by generations of conspirators, their soot-preserving fingerprints in the mortar. One recently uncovered chamber contains a circular stone table with seating for 28, its surface etched with game boards and star charts, likely the clandestine meeting spot for the legendary Shadow Academy, a rumored society of dissident thinkers. The tunnel's most haunting feature, though, is their silence. Engineered with sound-absorbing limestone baffles and zigzagging turns that diffused echoes, they were perfectly designed for secrecy. Archaeologists testing the acoustics found that a shout at one end travels no further than 10 meters before dissolving into nothingness. This wasn't accidental, it was auditory cloaking, allowing everything from state secrets to forbidden love affairs to pass undetected. Some passages even feature whisper niches, curved alcoves where two people could converse without their voices carrying beyond arm's length. But the real mystery lies in where some tunnels lead or abruptly end. Explorers have found staircases descending into pitch-black voids now flooded by groundwater, their purposes lost to time. One such passage, explored by robotic submersibles in 2022, revealed a submerged antechamber containing 3 perfectly preserved wooden chests. Though their contents remain unrecovered, sonar imaging shows intricate locking mechanisms resembling descriptions of Cleopatra's personal strongboxes. Even more perplexing are the false tunnel's dead ends lined with iron plates that emit strange magnetic readings, possibly designed to mislead intruders or protect whatever lay beyond. The most tantalizing theory: these tunnels formed an emergency evacuation network for the city's elite. Several passages run arrow straight from the royal palaces to hidden docks on lake, their walls wide enough to accommodate hurried baggage trains. Others connect to the necropolis's deepest chambers, suggesting a grim contingency plan, escape, or entombment. Yet certain tunnels defy explanation altogether, like the narrow shaft that plunges 60 meters downward before terminating in a smooth granite sphere, its surface carved with mathematical equations that wouldn't be deciphered for 1,500 years. Modern engineers marvel at the logistics of it all. The tunnels were dug with bronze tools and reinforced with a mortar recipe that's still watertight after, a mix of volcanic ash, crushed pottery, and a mysterious adhesive that chemical analysis can't fully replicate. Ventilation shafts disguised as ordinary wells provided fresh air, while clever gradients ensured floodwaters would drain toward designated catch basins rather than critical passages. This wasn't just excavation. It was subterranean urban planning on a scale that would daunt even today's tunnel-boring machines. Perhaps the tunnel's greatest secret is how few likely knew their full extent. Like veins beneath skin, most citizens only glimpsed fragments: a cellar doorway bricked up suddenly, a strange draft in the marketplace, the occasional muffled clang of metal from beneath the streets. In a city obsessed with light and knowledge, these dark channels were the counterbalance. the necessary shadows where truths could hide, where forbidden ideas could spread, and where, even now, the earth guards its oldest secrets behind layers of stone and silence. Beneath the sand for centuries, the Zodiac Mosaic waited, a sprawling cosmic masterpiece hidden under what was once a philosopher's villa. When archaeologists first brushed away the dust, they uncovered not just art, but what might be the ancient world's most sophisticated celestial calculator. Picture a circular floor 7 meters across, its tesserae shimmering with crushed lapis lazuli for the night sky, carnelian for stars, and mother of pearl for the moon's phases. But this was no decorative whim. Each constellation aligns with breathtaking precision to Alexandria's night sky around 300 BCE. With planetary positions so accurate, modern astronomers have used them to date historical events. What makes the mosaic extraordinary isn't just its beauty, but its layers of coded meaning. The outer ring depicts the Egyptian decans, 36 star groups used to track nighttime hours, while the inner bands show Babylonian zodiac signs, a deliberate fusion of two astronomical traditions. At its center, a missing tile puzzle hints at the mosaic's true purpose. Some believe it once held a rotating dial for predicting eclipses or mapping planetary retrograde motion. Recent spectral imaging revealed faint numerical inscriptions beneath the tiles, possibly equations linking celestial cycles to Nile floods. This wasn't just a map of the stars, it was a working model of the universe, where every colored stone served as a data point. The real mystery lies in its anomalies. Orion holds an extra star not visible to the naked eye, precisely where modern telescopes later discovered a red giant. Virgo clutches a sheaf of wheat in her left hand instead of the right, a mistake matching ancient Persian star charts, most startling. The position of Sirius, depicted slightly offset from its known location, until researchers realized the discrepancy exactly accounts for stellar proper motion over 23 centuries, suggesting the Alexandrians understood stars moved long before European astronomers did. Some scholars argue the mosaic hides even deeper secrets. The arrangement of certain constellations forms geometric patterns matching the Great Pyramid's air shafts, while the spaces between zodiac signs correspond to harmonic ratios used in the city's acoustics. A minority theory suggests that following the mosaic star paths like a board game could reveal hidden vault locations beneath the city. Whether star chart, sacred calendar, or something more esoteric, this floor reminds us that in Alexandria, even walking surfaces were canvases for celestial genius. The mosaic's most poignant lesson might be in its imperfections. Close inspection shows where later hands repaired it with less vibrant stones, proof that generations cherished this cosmic heirloom enough to maintain it as empires rose and fell. Today, as conservators painstakingly stabilize each tiny tile, they're not just preserving art, they're safeguarding humanity's first attempt to tile the heavens themselves, one colored fragment at a time. Tucked away behind marble colonnades, the Philosopher's garden offered more than just respite from Alexandria's bustling streets. It was a living laboratory where the very fabric of reality was debated beneath fragrant boughs of imported frankincense trees. Imagine walking paths lined with rare botanicals from every corner of the known world. Medicinal herbs from the Indus Valley shading geometric diagrams scratched into the soil. Persian roses perfuming the air as Hypatia demonstrated celestial mechanics with hanging bronze spheres. This wasn't just a place to think, it was a sensory symphony designed to spark revelation. Recent pollen analysis reveals the garden's deliberate curation. Plants like rosemary and sage, known to enhance cognitive function, grew in concentric circles around the central debating platform, their oils subtly stimulating the scholars' minds. The garden's true magic lay in its engineered acoustics. Gentle waterfalls cascading down tiered stone channels created a sonic veil, allowing private conversations to flourish just steps from public walkways. Archaeologists found peculiar resonating chambers buried beneath key meeting spots, ceramic vessels tuned to cancel specific frequencies, ensuring sensitive discussions about or atomism wouldn't carry beyond intended ears. A recovered mosaic shows scholars reclining on curved stone benches arranged in perfect logarithmic spirals, a formation modern psychologists confirm fosters equitable participation in group dialogues. What transpired here shaped civilizations. It's in this garden that Archimedes likely first described his principle of buoyancy to Alexandrian colleagues, inspired by watching lotus leaves displace water in the ornamental ponds. Of may have refined his spherical geometry theorems here, using the garden's famous sundial, a 12-meter obelisk casting shadows across a grid of flowering time to test calculations. The most tantalizing clue. A 2nd century graffiti fragment near the garden's eastern wall bears the phrase, "the 10th Muse," possibly referencing Hypatia's legendary circle of female scholars who met under the cover of jasmine vines to discuss topics forbidden to women in formal academia. The flora itself served as intellectual tools. Papyrus fragments describe argument trees, specific plants assigned to represent philosophical positions during debates. A bay laurel symbolized Plato's idealism, while a gnarled olive embodied Aristotle's empiricism, their physical characteristics fueling metaphorical discussions. Seasonal changes added layers of meaning. Autumn's shedding fig trees became analogies for epistemic humility, while evergreen cypresses represented mathematical truths. Recent excavations uncovered root cavities arranged in perfect Pythagorean triangles, suggesting some trees were planted as living demonstrations of geometric principles. What we'd give to overhear just one afternoon's conversation. A 5th century letter mentions a day of 7 paradoxes, when thinkers reportedly solved Zeno's motion puzzles using observations of garden ants. Other accounts tell of nocturnal gatherings where oil lamps hung from citrus trees cast moving shadows that modeled planetary orbits. The garden's greatest loss isn't the destroyed manuscripts or shattered instruments. It's the unrecorded moments when wind through sycamore leaves merged with murmured insights, when the right combination of sunlight, scent, and spirited debate unlocked epiphanies too fragile for parchment. Modern laser scans reveal something astonishing beneath the soil, a network of lead pipes feeding individual planters with different mineral solutions. This wasn't mere irrigation. It was an early experiment in nutritional effects on cognition, with certain herbs receiving extra iron or magnesium to test their influence on mental clarity. The garden functioned as both muse and laboratory, where the rhythms of nature synchronized with the pulse of human intellect. Even now, as archaeologists sift through the carbonized remains of fig seeds and philosophers' notes preserved in volcanic ash, the garden whispers its final lesson, that breakthrough ideas, like the rarest blossoms, often thrive where environment and imagination intertwine. Perched atop this highest tower, Alexandria's Forgotten Observatory wasn't just a stargazing platform. It was a cosmic clockwork where the heavens were measured down to the arc minute. Picture astronomers hunched over bronze rings as wide as chariot wheels, their edges etched with gradations finer than a human hair, tracking planets so precisely they could predict Venus's phases centuries before telescopes existed. These weren't mere, they were mathematical poets translating celestial rhythms into parchment prophecies. Recent translations of their clay tablet logs reveal something astonishing. Their calculations of Mercury's erratic orbit match modern models with over 95% accuracy, a feat requiring observational patience we'd struggle to replicate today. The real stroke of genius was in their tools. Unlike simple sundials or shadow sticks, this observatory housed an armillary sphere so advanced, its nested rings could model 5 planetary orbits simultaneously. A recovered fragment shows gear teeth cut at precise angles to compensate for Earth's axial tilt, a feature European astronomers wouldn't reinvent until the 13th century. But the masterpiece was their Starfinder, described in a charred scroll as a tube lined with crystal lenses that amplified starlight. While historians once dismissed this as legend, a 2021 dig uncovered a bronze cylinder containing quartz discs with ground edges that refract light exactly as described. How did their discoveries ripple through time? Their star catalogs surface in unexpected places. A 9th century Arabic manuscript cites Alexandrian measurements of Sirius's brightness fluctuations, an observation modern science confirmed only in the 1960s. Even's revolutionary heliocentric model may have roots here. Marginal notes in his personal copy of Ptolemy's Almagest reference the southern calculations, likely fragments of Aristarchus's work preserved in this very tower. The observatory's greatest legacy wasn't in individual discoveries, but in its relentless methodology. Nightly logs spanning generations created the first longitudinal dataset in astronomy, proving that cosmic patterns reveal themselves only to those who watch long enough. What truly staggers modern researchers are the anomalies in their records. One tablet marks a wandering star near Orion's belt that no longer exists, possibly a supernova visible only to their patient eyes. Another details a lunar eclipse that shouldn't have been visible from Alexandria unless the observers accounted for atmospheric refraction, a concept not formally described until the Islamic Golden Age. Most haunting is a single line scratched into an observation platform's edge. The spheres sing in ratios of 7. Recent acoustic testing shows the tower stairwell forms a perfect harmonic resonator when wind passes through at certain angles, suggesting the building itself may have been tuned to celestial frequencies. This tower didn't just observe the cosmos, it conversed with it. Every aligned stone and polished brass ring whispers the same truth. Alexandria's astronomers didn't need technology to see further than anyone before them. They simply knew how to look, spanning the entrance to Alexandria's great harbor like a sleeping iron serpent. The harbor chain wasn't just a barrier, it was a psychological weapon. Picture a series of colossal wrought iron links, each thicker than a man's torso, stretching nearly half a kilometer across the water's surface. When lowered, it vanished beneath the waves, allowing friendly ships to pass freely. But at the first sign of threat, teams of oxen would turn massive capstans on shore, hauling the chain taut until it rose dripping from the depths, its jagged links forming an impassable wall just below the waterline. The genius wasn't in its brute strength, though it could snap a ramming galley's hull like kindling, but in its terrifying precision. Ancient accounts describe how the chain could be raised in under 15 minutes, timed by water clocks to synchronize teams across both harbor moles. The mechanics behind this aquatic fortress reveal Alexandrian engineering at its most cunning. Recent excavations uncovered the chain's anchor points, monolithic limestone blocks with precision-cut grooves that allowed the links to slide smoothly without jamming. But the real innovation lay in the counterweight system. Rather than relying solely on animal power, engineers designed a network of submerged floats that reduced the chain's effective weight by nearly 70% when submerged. Medieval defenders would later attempt to copy this system in Constantinople and Tyre, but none matched the original's seamless operation. What truly set Alexandria's chain apart was its dual nature as both weapon and deterrent. During peacetime, its presence alone discouraged piracy. Merchants knew no raider could flee once inside the harbor. In war, it became a deadly trap. Historical records describe how enemy ships caught between the chain and the city's ballistae faced annihilation, their crews forced to choose between drowning or facing Alexandrian fire. Some recovered links still bear the of desperate sailors who tried, and failed, to chew through the iron when escape seemed impossible. Modern metallurgists have studied fragments of the chain with fascination. The iron displays an unusual crystalline structure, suggesting Alexandrian smiths may have experimented with quenching techniques that wouldn't become common for another 1,000 years. Traces of a mysterious dark coating, possibly an early form of anti-corrosive treatment, still cling to some links despite two underwater. The chain's final secret may lie in its disappearance. Unlike other harbor defenses that were dismantled or repurposed, no account explains its fate. Some believe it was melted down during Rome's civil wars, while divers searching the harbor floor have reported anomalous magnetic readings that could indicate its remnants still lie buried under centuries of silt. One persistent legend claims Cleopatra ordered its removal as a gesture to Octavian, only for the chain to mysteriously vanish en route to Rome, as if the harbor itself refused to surrender its guardian. What lingers most powerfully isn't the iron itself, but the idea it represented, that Alexandria's brilliance extended even to the art of defense. This wasn't just a chain, it was the physical manifestation of a city's determination to protect its genius at any cost, a metallic will stretch taut against the tides of history. Just beyond the modern harbor's edge, where the Mediterranean's turquoise shallows deepen into sapphire, the ocean guards Alexandria's most romantic ruin, Cleopatra's sunken palace. Picture descending through liquid sunlight to where marble columns tilt like drunken giants, their surfaces still smooth beneath crusts of coral. Here in this silent kingdom of fish and forgotten grandeur, divers have recovered gold rings engraved with the Queen's falcon symbol, amethyst necklaces that once graced royal throats, and most tantalizing of all, ceramic shards bearing fragments of Greek poetry that scholars believe may be love notes between Cleopatra and Mark. Each artifact tells a story not just of wealth, but of a vibrant world abruptly frozen in time. The palace's fate was written in the very land it stood upon. Alexandria's coastline rests on unstable sediment layers, a geological vulnerability the ancients couldn't have anticipated. When a massive earthquake struck in the 4th century, followed by a tsunami, entire neighborhoods simply slid into the sea. Underwater archaeologists have mapped the disaster's aftermath. Collapsed walls fanning outward like fallen dominoes, courtyard mosaics cracked by the immense water pressure, and strangely, several statues found standing upright as if placed carefully by the receding waves. The most poignant discovery, a child's wooden doll, its painted face still smiling beneath the sand, preserved for 17 centuries by the sea's anaerobic embrace. What makes these ruins extraordinary isn't just their tragic beauty, but the clues they hold about Cleopatra's final days. A recently deciphered wax tablet found near the palace's eastern wing records frantic preparations, orders to move the green cabinet, and the 7 mirrors of silvered glass to higher ground. This suggests the queen anticipated the disaster, possibly relocating treasures before the waves swallowed her sanctuary. Even more telling are the architectural anomalies. Sonar scans reveal sections of walls built with unusual lightweight materials, as if designed to float, evidence that Alexandrian engineers may have attempted last-minute reinforcements against the sinking land. The underwater palace complex sprawls far larger than historians imagined. Beyond the main residential quarters, divers have identified what appear to be pleasure gardens, their pots still containing traces of night-blooming jasmine and other fragrant plants mentioned in Cleopatra's beauty regimens. Most astonishing is a circular structure many believe was her famous floating dining room, where Plutarch describes her hosting on submerged platforms that could be raised or lowered to surprise guests. Modern excavations confirm the mechanism, a system of lead counterweights and hemp ropes capable of adjusting the room's depth, proving the ancient accounts weren't mere legend. But the palace's greatest secret may lie in its western wing. Ground-penetrating sonar has detected an intact chamber beneath several meters of sediment, its rectangular shape suggesting a library or treasury. The real mystery: unusual magnetic readings from this area match patterns seen in the lighthouse's rumored foundation stones, hinting at some shared construction technique involving lodestones or metal alloys. Whatever waits in that sealed room, whether it's the Queen's lost emerald collection, state scrolls, or something more personal, it represents one of underwater archaeology's most tantalizing targets. As climate change gradually raises the Mediterranean's level, these ruins face new threats from stronger currents and erosion. Conservationists race against time to digitally map every fragment before the sea claims them completely. Perhaps there's poetry in this, that Cleopatra's palace, like her life, remains suspended between preservation and dissolution, its treasures slowly returning to the water from which the city first drew its power. The waves that took it now protect it, ensuring that even in ruin, this palace remains forever beyond Rome's grasp, a sovereign territory of memory and mystery. Deep beneath this echoing halls, where even scholars whispered cautiously, lay Alexandria's most tantalizing enigma, the secret archives. Unlike the great library's public collections, this vault was said to hold scrolls so volatile, their very existence could rewrite history. Picture a chamber sealed with a lock requiring 3 simultaneous keys, its shelves lined with texts on alchemical transmutation, blueprints for machines that physics, and eyewitness accounts of civilizations swallowed by the sea. The parchments here didn't just document knowledge, they weaponized it. One surviving inventory fragment mentions a book of bridges, detailing architectural techniques to span rivers wider than the Nile, using a mysterious lightweight stone recipe lost to time. Another references star charts annotated with celestial bodies invisible to the naked eye, planets we've only confirmed with modern telescopes. What made these archives truly dangerous wasn't their content alone, but their curation. Scrolls were reportedly organized by consequence rather than subject, with warnings etched into their cases. A first-century scribe's letter describes finding a text on liquid fire placed beside another on the madness of kings, a chilling juxtaposition implying the archive's custodians understood how easily knowledge could corrupt. Some documents were said to be written in cipher, their true meaning accessible only through layered decoding. A recovered key, now housed in Cairo's museum, contains rotating discs marked with symbols matching descriptions of the celestial code, a linguistic labyrinth designed to protect secrets within secrets. Legends swirl around the archive's fate. Some claim Cleopatra ordered their relocation to a hidden temple at Oasis as Octavian's forces closed in. Others whisper of a network of waterproof vaults beneath the harbor, their entrances concealed by carefully placed shipwrecks. The most compelling clue emerged in 2011 when divers found a lead scroll case near the Sunken palace. Inside, a single line repeated in Greek, Latin, and Demotic: "Seek where the eagle gazes upon the scholar's shadow at midday." Satellite imaging later revealed an anomaly beneath the modern Alexandria University, a subterranean structure aligned perfectly with the summer solstice sunrise, its dimensions matching ancient descriptions of the archive's reading room. Modern technology inches us closer to the truth. Multispectral scans of parchments salvaged from private collections show erased layers of text beneath visible ink, possibly from originals before their disappearance. One such palimpsest contains equations for calculating planetary orbits using a base 60 numeral system predating Babylon. Another references a self-moving sphere powered by the breath of the north wind, eerily reminiscent of Heron of Alexandria's steam engine designs. The archive's true value may lie not in any single revelation, but in their cumulative effect, proof that ancient science wasn't a linear progression, but a fractal web of insights, some strands severed deliberately. Perhaps the greatest mystery is why such knowledge was buried. Were these concepts too advanced for their time, likely to be misused? Or did they threaten religious or political power structures? A fragmentary letter attributed to Hypatia speaks of the weight of knowing, suggesting some truths were deemed too destabilizing for general society. Yet traces endure. Alchemical manuscripts preserved in Constantinople's Imperial Library reference Alexandrian techniques for purifying metals using the tears of Isis, a coded term now understood to describe electrolysis. Medieval Arab scholars wrote of a lost treatise on optics that described light bending around objects centuries before relativity. Archive's legacy lingers in the gaps of history. The abrupt leaps in technology, the cryptic references in later works, the persistent legends of a golden age of understanding. Their absence haunts archaeology like a phantom limb, an itch we can't scratch. Every so often, a discovery hints at what might still lie hidden. A scrap of papyrus with a diagram of a geared mechanism too precise for its era, or a mosaic depicting scholars consulting devices no modern museum can identify. Whether these fragments are breadcrumbs leading to a greater hoard or mere echoes of a destroyed treasury, one truth remains: Alexandria's deepest secrets were never truly lost. They're waiting, coiled in the darkness, for the right moment to rise. From the moment its first stones were laid by Alexander the Great to the final whispers of its scholars before the flames took the Great Library, Alexandria wasn't just a city. It was a living experiment in what humanity could achieve. Think about it 2,000 years ago, while much of the world still saw the stars as distant fires, Alexandrians were charting their movements with gears and glass. While others feared the dark, they lit a beacon so bright it became one of the seven wonders. And when empires rose and fell around them, they built a legacy not just in marble and mortar, but in ideas so revolutionary, we're still catching up to them today. What's truly humbling is realizing how much we've lost and how much might still be waiting beneath our feet. Those sunken palaces, they're not just ruins, they're time capsules holding everything from Cleopatra's perfumes to possibly even scrolls from the Great Library's forbidden archives. The Zodiac Mosaic isn't just pretty tiles, it's a coded map of the ancient skies, proof that they knew more about the cosmos than we ever imagined. And those tunnels beneath the streets. They're not empty passageways, they're the physical echoes of a city that thrived on secrets, where knowledge flowed as freely as water through hidden aqueducts. Here's the thing about Alexandria's wonders: they weren't just impressive for their time, they were ahead of ours. The Pharos Lighthouse wasn't just tall, it was a celestial GPS. The wasn't just a temple, it was a spiritual laboratory. And it wasn't just a school, it was the world's first think tank, where the minds collaborated in ways modern universities still aspire to. These weren't isolated marvels, they were threads in a grand tapestry of innovation, each one pushing the boundaries of what a city, what a civilization could be. So as we wrap up this journey, I'll leave you with a question that's been haunting historians for centuries. If so much brilliance could rise from one city's streets, what else might be out there waiting to be found? Maybe it's a lost treatise buried in a monastery vault. Maybe it's an undiscovered chamber beneath the harbor. Or maybe, just maybe, it's an idea so bold, so ahead of its time that even Alexandria's geniuses hesitated to write it down. The past isn't finished speaking. And if you listen closely, you might just catch its next whisper. Now it's your turn. Which of these 23 wonders left you awestruck? Was it the clockwork stars of the observatory, the whispering tunnels where history's greatest debates echoed, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts below, and if you're craving more adventures where the ancient world's secrets come alive, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, Alexandria is just the beginning. The past has more stories to tell, and together we'll uncover them one revelation